the ability to communicate effectively has given me my dream life at the age of 24. It's the reason that I've been able to make millions of dollars. It's the reason I've been able to reform relationships and build my dream lifestyle and live where I want to live and become who I am. And the way that I have learned how to communicate is through copywriting, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But before I do, the only high-value skill that there is communication. Because if you cannot communicate, it doesn't matter how good of a copywriter you are, it doesn't matter how good at any craft you are. It's like you are the most skilled basketball player in the world in practice, but when the lights come on, when it's game time, you can't show that. And if that's the case for you, then it doesn't fucking matter how skilled you are. So if you don't want to be this lion who is trapped in a cage, you don't want to have some special ability, you don't want to get skilled at something and not be able to show that ability, then you're gonna have to learn how to communicate. And I've done this almost subconsciously through copywriting. I've understood how to articulate myself, how to look at a situation objectively and be able to put myself in the other person's shoes and understand what they're feeling, understand the way that they would describe their problem so I can handle that problem before it comes up, so I can articulate the exact way that they are feeling, and then they feel understood. And then they're gonna buy something from me, or then they're gonna continue to listen to this video, or then they're gonna go on a date with me. Like it doesn't just apply to business, it applies to life in general. The better listener you can be, the better communicator you can be, because you understand people. And this is the biggest thing that you could possibly learn, because again, if you don't learn it, you are a Ferrari that can only go 20 miles an hour. There's probably a better analogy there. But the people that I know in my life who are the most successful are typically not the most intelligent. They are the ones who can relate to other people who everyone else loves. Like the real high value skill here is just being a fucking cool person that other people want to be around. Like I have a friend here in Miami who is relatively broke. He's like fine financially, but he's not doing like super well by any means, but we will still bring him around, we'll invite him out, we will, he just gets into places and gets into rooms that like he isn't qualified to be in because he's the fucking boy. And because he can communicate the fact that he is not a weirdo without having to have money or status or any of those things. He's just somebody that you enjoy having around. And genuinely, I think this is the biggest skill that you can have. So the way I have become an effective communicator is through writing. And again, like I said, I almost subconsciously taught myself this because I've been writing all the time for the last 4 years. I started writing on Twitter, I started writing emails, I started writing for clients. And in doing this, in writing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of words over the last 4 years, and being able to continuously make arguments as to why somebody should take an action. Like that's all copywriting is persuasive language. It's the same as a sales call. It's the same as a video sales letter. It's the same as a webinar. It is persuasive language to get somebody to take an action. So in getting so many reps at this, it makes you better at quite literally everything in life. You'll win more arguments with your girl, with your parents, when you make content, the shit will actually resonate because you can construct a logical argument and also understand the emotional sale that needs to occur to convince anybody to do anything. And that is life's greatest fucking superpower. That is when you have the fucking Infinity Stone. And you know, think about somebody like Tate, right? The only reason that he blew up is because he is such an effective communicator. Obviously, the flashy stuff and the crazy statements always help, and like that's what goes viral. But for anybody that's consumed a lot of his content, you know that that guy is just a wizard with words. And he could go on some random debate show and talk his ass off because he has learned this skill. So if you want to start doing this, you have to begin by getting as many reps as possible. And I think that starts easiest by writing because that's how you kind of work the problem out in your head. When you want to make any sort of argument or you have a random idea and then you journal about it or you write an email about it, you just close that loop in your head so when you speak it, it becomes more clear. And I didn't even realize I was doing this, like when I started writing on Twitter and writing to my email list. But now I'll find myself saying things that I knew I had written years ago, and they're just kind of floating around in my brain. And then when you hear me talk about it, it's like, oh, this guy is actually thoughtful. Like this is something that he's considered deeply, rather than most people who just like accept the words of other people and never question anything and never take the time to sit with themselves and decipher, okay, what are my own thoughts, what are my own beliefs, and what are things that other people have pushed onto me. If you want to become an effective communicator, the easiest and the first step is to start writing every single day. And you're like, Ben, well, what do I write about? What do you mean writing? When I first started journaling, I'd do it every night. And I would just sit down at my desk and think, okay, like what are some interesting things that have happened to me today? Like what are some takeaways? What are some insights that I've gotten through my life? Because, you know, if you've been alive for 18 to 25 years at this point, like you've got some fucking shit to talk about, bro. Oh, I don't have any stories. Oh, I don't have anything to talk about. Like, yes, you do. You're just not being aware. So it starts by becoming aware of the things that are going on in your life and the challenges that you're facing, coupled with that internal voice that you hear that's like low-key always trying to sabotage you. Like I feel like I'm in a constant battle with that voice in my head. And when you hear content from me that resonates with you, it's because I've become friends with that voice and I can fully like become aware of it and think like, okay, I don't want to progress to this next level in my business because that adds pressure, but I don't want to admit that because admitting that would make me sound like a bitch. So instead I say that I don't have enough knowledge or I don't have enough information to get to that next level. So I keep myself where I am because doing that is scary. So like that's just one simple example of like me understanding the difference between that evil voice in my head and like the actual actions or lack of actions that I'm taking. And then that's a lesson that might resonate with some people because that is something that most people can relate to. Change is hard, change is scary. If you can just start the habit of sitting down and writing about your life, writing about the things that you are finding interesting or challenging or random observations that you have. And it can be at the end of every day, you can just keep a note on your phone of like random insights. That is the first step to becoming aware of what is going on around you and then being able to see reality through a new lens, through this observer who is just curious. Like curiosity alone will lead you to most of the answers that you have in life. I've always been somebody who will observe other people and think about like, okay, why did they make this decision? Like, why are they living in this place and working this job? And why did they marry this person? And if it doesn't add up, I'll start to think about it. Like, you know, when you see somebody with a spouse that they're clearly not happy with, instead of just like writing it off or not looking into it, I've always been someone that's like, okay, like what the fuck happened there? And I'd just do this with nearly everything in my life, and then I'd start writing about it. I'd write a random tweet about it, but not like directly. Usually I'll like pull a lesson from an experience, and I won't give the surrounding context to that lesson. And that's where all of my writing, that's where all of my content comes from. It's things that I experience or observe that I will critically sit there and think like, okay, why is this happening? What's going on? And then boom, I pull a lesson from it. And that's how I've built my audience. That's how I've become an effective communicator online. And it works the same way in business. Copywriting, again, is just the ability to persuade somebody into taking an action using words, using language. And to do that, you have to understand the potential customer's desires and needs and fears. And that's pretty simple to do if you're just observant in your day-to-day life. Like, why does somebody want to start a business? Well, they probably hate their job. They don't feel fulfilled at work. They are scared of the whole 9-to-5 path. They're in college and they're hating it and they feel unfulfilled and they want something more out of life. Like, that's pretty fucking simple. And then you can just construct an argument around that that's like, okay, you can go down this path, and here's what's gonna happen if you do. You can continue to ignore that voice in your head that tells you that you want more, and you dig that pain a little deeper. You say, okay, this is literally what your life is gonna look like. You're gonna be fucking miserable. You're gonna be living a life that you don't wanna live, or you can invest $997 and buy my course. In reality, you would make a logical argument plus an emotional argument as to why that's a good decision. Or you can take the less traveled path. You can invest in yourself and bet on yourself, and you know that if you put your all into this, you have a good chance at succeeding. And if you don't succeed, at least you'll know. At least you'll know what that side is like, and you know, maybe you'll figure out it's not for you, and hey, we'll give you your money back, so just buy the fucking course. Please buy the course. But like, you see what I'm doing here. That's all that copywriting and persuasive language is. You're constructing an argument to get somebody to see reality through your lens, which it's already inside of them. You just have to reveal the right stones. You just have to show them like, okay, you already think this way somewhere deep down, but it's been suppressed by all of this other shit that you've listened to. But somewhere in there, you know that this is the right way to live and the right way to think. So you're unlocking that for people, and you're getting them to take actions that are going to result in a better life for them. And so I know this has been a little bit of an autistic rant so far, but I want to transition here into lifestyle and like communication with other people around me, and like getting what I want and and being able to live the way that I wanted to in Miami. Because when I first moved here a little over 2 years ago, I wasn't as articulate as I am now, and I couldn't communicate who I was as well as I can now, and that made me suffer. It made my actual lifestyle and dating life not the way that I wanted to, and I felt like I was living in Miami, but I was like a shell of myself. I just wasn't that version of me that I wanted to be. And then I really started to step into who I am now. And like, that's when I started making video content on TikTok. That's when I started meeting new people, going on dates, and like just having fun and feeling like I was the exact person that I always wanted to be. And it was always inside of me. I just had to unlock it. And then now I've got like the best fucking friends in the world. You guys probably see who I hang out with on Instagram and on other social media. Like, my boys Mason and Jimmy are my fucking dogs. Like, I couldn't ask for a better circle, and we complement each other really well. Like, we rarely argue, and we all kind of carry our own weight and have our own value inside of our little friend group. And that's fucking sick. And the only reason I've been able to build that circle is because I know how to not sound like a fucking weirdo. I know how to not sound like a dork. I know how to be a normal human being who can communicate effectively. And this is something that money doesn't really solve. Like, I can't tell you how many people I meet that are making fucking bread. Some of them are making much more money than I am, but like, I don't look up to them in the slightest. I'm like, bro, you did it. You cracked the money code, but you're still a fucking dork. You still would go on a date and embarrass yourself and talk about business with a beautiful girl that has no desire to hear about your business, but you'll just sit there fucking rambling about, like, that's not the people that anyone looks up to. I'm not trying to be a dick here, but I understand that like the position that I am in with the people I am surrounded by is rare. And if you want to end up in this kind of position, it starts by learning how to communicate effectively, which starts by getting good at copywriting and writing consistently. You need to be journaling, you need to be tweeting, you need to be getting clients and sending emails and making persuasive arguments as to why your way of life, your way of thinking is correct. And when you can do that, it's a fucking superpower. You have unlocked everything that you want out of life because you can get people to think the way that you think. And when you do that, they will act on what you want them to do. That is exactly how you bend reality to your wishes, how you unlock your dream life and the dream version of yourself that you know is in there that you've been suppressing because you have no outlet. You have nowhere to write about your thoughts or the way that you perceive the world. And then when you talk to people, they can see that. They can see that you're not a critical thinker. They can see that you don't even know what you're talking about. You've just accepted things that other people have said as facts and you regurgitate their ideas. Like, that's a helpless position to be in. I know Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. Like, a dangerous man is somebody who can communicate. Like, that motherfucker be spitting. He's right. You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn copywriting. Join fucking Artisan Lab. Click the link in the bio or in the description. Join Artisan Lab. Share this with your grandma, your mother, your sister. Okay, I'll stop. Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. God bless. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.